Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal and patch 10.2 is finally here, bringing with it an entirely new zone of the Emerald Dream, with even more seasonal content launching next week. But one of the best parts of this newest update is some of the different class revamps we finally get to experience, especially when it comes to my main class, the Rogue, which has gotten a fantastic rework with new class talents but also spec talents for the playstyles of Assassination, Subtlety, as well as Outlaw, with my main spec of Outlaw in particular feeling quite powerful from its time spent over on the PTR. And in today's video, I wanted to do a proper guide for the parody spec of Rogue for the Season 3 of the patch 10.2, by going over all of the different class and talent builds, as well as the playstyle and the rotation, as well as how to gear your Rogue appropriately within the new raids and dungeons, and what kind of enchants, consumables, and gems should you be running to optimize your gameplay. And if you guys enjoy this type of PvE guide and want to see one for Assassination and Subtlety, be sure to let me know in the comments down below. Before we dive into this Outlaw Rogue 10.2 PvE guide, most of you guys watching these kinds of videos are still not subscribed. However, the more of you remind, the more of you do, so let's keep it going. Subscribe to the channel and ring the bell if you're watching these videos anyway, especially if you want to get more regular content regarding Dragonflight 10.2 or any of the future updates going forward. I usually like to start my guides off by going over the talent builds first, and for Outlaw Rogue you essentially have two viable options. First of all, for the single target raiding, we have the Ambush Outlaw Hidden Opportunity build, which will prioritize using the ability of Ambush to generate additional burst damage, with every ambush and finishers fueling you full of additional buffs for Roll the Bones. However, you can also adjust this build to swap out 1 point from Vigor or Lethality to grab up Acrobatic Strikes, which gains you a little bit extra melee distance, which is going to result in a very slight damage loss, but it is a fantastic talent option when it comes to gaining more flexibility when it comes to melee positioning. For Mythic Plus situations, the Ambush Outlaw build will pivot towards Blade Flurry by enhancing its output in cleave situations. But if you don't enjoy the Ambush version of Outlaw, you can always play the Sinister Strike single target build, which offers a more simplified combo point building rotation, with the build being very competitive to the numbers that the Ambush Acrobatic Strikes version can offer. And for Mythic Plus dungeons, this build also leverages talents that enhance Blade Flurry. This build is also a little bit ahead the Ambush build within pure AoE situations because of the grand melee uptime, as well as talents like Death Maneuvers benefiting heavily inside of big bursty crack shot windows. Next, let's go over how to gear your Rogue in the patch 10.2. If you want to get the most accurate information regarding best in slot gear and being able to find out if any of the items in your bags are an upgrade, I really do recommend looking into simming your character. Sim websites can give you a lot of useful information when it comes to finding ways to optimize yourself within dungeons and raids. With Sims, you can compare talents against one another to find the perfect build for a variety of PvE situations, and can compare items inside of raids, dungeons, or even within your bags to find out which ones are going to be your biggest upgrade. So if you're looking to take patch 10.2 endgame content more seriously, I definitely recommend looking into Sims. However, I do want to help you guys get started, so this is more of a simplified method of what gear you should look out for and which stats are going to be your best. When it comes to getting new items, most pieces with additional agility are going to be an upgrade. However, certain secondary stats are going to be better for you, with versatility being the best, crit being second best, and haste being the third best. Mastery as a secondary stat isn't great for Outlaw and for the most part should be avoided if possible. When it comes to some of your best in slot gear from raids and dungeons, the Thorncaller Claw from the raid is going to be your best main hand weapon, while the Dagger of Nick of Time from the Mega Dungeon Dawn of the Infinite Part 1 is going to be your best offhanded weapon. When it comes to your raid trinkets, the Cataclysmic Signet Brand will be one of your better options, with the Coiled Serpent Idol trinket will be your second best. However, if you choose to gear through dungeons, the Accelerating Sandglass from the Dawn of the Infinite dungeon is going to be one of your better options, with the Mirror of the Fractured Tomorrow being your second best option. While gearing your Rogue during Season 3, you also want to be on the lookout for your tier set bonus, and you want to get your hands on it as soon as possible. The 2 set of your newest tier set increases the rate at which you will get your secondary hits from Sinister Strikes or ambushes if you end up playing the Hidden Opportunity version of Outlaw. The 4 set allows you to carry over one of the Roll the Bones buffs into your next buff combination, which increases the amount of buffs you can have minimum and allows you to maintain more buffs throughout a combat encounter. Both of these bonuses are very passive and don't necessarily alter your rotation, but they still do serve to make you more effective within dungeon and raid encounters. There's a couple of ways of obtaining your newest tier sets. Once Season 3 launches, the easiest way to get tier sets will be by slaying the bosses within the newest Emergency raid. Every time you complete PvE objectives, there's a chance you can get tier sets from any of the rewards within your Great Vault. But also, the Revival Catalyst will be available day 1, which will allow you to convert basic Season 3 gear into tier set equivalents with the helms, shoulders, chest, legs, and gloves capable of obtaining these combat bonuses. Next, let's go over the basic rotation and the playstyle of these piratey brigands. Outlaw rogues will focus primarily on managing personal buffs as well as offensive cooldowns. As a rogue, your primary playstyle revolves around building and spending common points as efficiently as possible. The faster you can build and spend your common points, the quicker you can regain a lot of your offensive and utility abilities thanks to their unique cooldown reduction mechanic. First, let's go over all of your common point builders, starting with lowest to highest priority. Sinister Strike is your basic common point builder that has a chance to hit twice and generate procs of opportunity, which allows you to use the ability of Pistol Shot more efficiently. Normally, you don't really use the ability of Pistol Shot unless you have a proc of opportunity. Pistol Shot generates a ton of common points thanks to the talents like Fan the Hammer. Fan the Hammer allows multiple stacks of opportunity to overlap, which allows Pistol Shot to generate multiple common points at once. Because of this, we generally want to use Pistol Shot with opportunity procs when we have less than 4 common points, unless we're sitting on 6 stacks of opportunity, which is where Pistol Shot becomes the highest priority ability even when we have 5 common points available. Next, we have the ability of Ambush, which will be a commonly used ability for the hidden opportunity Outlaw builds. And whenever Ambush becomes available, whether it is through Audacity procs, Vanish, Shadow Dance, or through Stealth, we'll use Ambush as our top common point builder even when we have 5 or more common points. Then we have talents such as Echo and Reprimand. If you're running that as part of your build, you'll want to use this ability on cooldown as your highest priority. Echo and Reprimand also empowers your common points, turning them blue. Spending finishers on those blue common points treats them as if you spent 7 common points into that finisher, which is something you should be on the lookout for when playing with Echo and Reprimand. Lastly, we have the talent of Ghostly Strike, which should be your top common point building priority. The ability is also off the global cooldown, which allows you to weave in Ghostly Strikes in between all of your other abilities. As an Outlaw rogue, we will build common points until we have at least 6 available. Afterwards, you want to spend those common points into common point spenders. The first spender you want to prioritize is Slice and Dice, which simply grants you additional auto attack speeds. Faster auto attacks add you a little bit extra passive damage, but can also help generate additional energy through some of the passives found within the talent tree and allow our mastery to get more chances to proc. And you should try to refresh Slice and Dice when you have at least 12 seconds of uptime. The next finisher in that priority is Between the Eyes, which we want to fire off as much as possible. Not only does Between the Eyes do additional damage if the ability crits, but it also increases our crit chance passively. With the new capstone talent of Crackshot, we will be using Between the Eyes together with abilities such as Vanish and Shadow Dance in order to maximize its effectiveness. Therefore, we'll try to save Between the Eyes and not put it on cooldown if Vanish is within 45 seconds of being off CD, or if Shadow Dance will be back up in 15 seconds. The ability of Between the Eyes can also refund its own common points, so you will have to pay attention to any of the procs if you want to maximize the effectiveness of this bursty ability. When Slice and Dice does not need to be refreshed, and if Between the Eyes is on cooldown, or you're waiting for Vanish or Shadow Dance, we'll be spending the rest of our common points into ability of Dispatch. Next, let's go over how to maximize the effectiveness of the cooldowns of the Outlaw Rogue, starting with Adrenaline Rush, which should essentially be used as often as possible. Adrenaline also generates common points, so you want to try to use it when you have 2 or less common points available. Next, we have the ability of Blade Flurry, which allows our abilities to cleave. Outlaw rogues don't really have an AoE rotation, rather you only have a single target rotation and you turn on Blade Flurry to cleave all nearby targets in AoE situations. But in the patch 10.2, we essentially want to maintain Blade Flurry on as often as possible, even in single target encounters, as the ability prevents Slice and Dice from running out thanks to the newest talent of Underhanded Upper Hand. And with the talent of Death Maneuvers, we'll try to use Blade Flurry as much as possible within AoE situations, as the ability can now generate common points for every target that it hits. Next, we have the talent of Blade Rush. As a cooldown, Blade Rush is fairly low priority. We only use this ability when there's absolutely no other button for us to press and whenever we are on low energy. However, Blade Rush does have a charge element, so you can use it to quickly close the gap with your target, and the ability generally gets a little bit stronger within AoE and cleave encounters. Next, we have the defensive of Vanish, which we'll want to try to use offensively thanks to our crackshot focus gameplay. We want to try to use Vanish as often as possible whenever Between the Eyes is available. Shadow Dance follows the same exact rhetoric as Vanish. We'll want to use it offensively as often as possible to help set up our crackshot combos. Next, we have the talent of Keep It Rolling, which allows you to extend your current Roll the Bones buff combination. We generally want to wait to use this ability until we see at least 3 usable buffs available, and you generally want to use this ability just as one of your buffs is right about to expire to maximize its uptime. Finally, we have the cooldown of Roll the Bones, which will be part of your main gameplay as an Outlaw Rogue. Every time you press Roll the Bones, you get a random assortment of buffs, anywhere from a 1 buff, 2 buff, or a 5 buff combination. These buffs can help increase your energy regeneration, or give you additional calm points, grant you additional critical strike, or enhance your cooldown reduction, or even provide additional cleave damage. Currently, the best way to use Roll the Bones right now is to keep re-rolling it until you have at least 2 buffs available. However, certain solo buffs are worth keeping for as long as possible. If you're playing the Ambush Hidden Opportunity build, then you want to be on the lookout for True Bearing. If you're playing the normal Sinister Strike build, then Broadside will be your best solo buff combination. Next, let's go into our opener, and the spec of Outlaw Rogue generally doesn't play around openers or stealth, but as of the patch 10.2 and because of the talent of Crackshot, stealth and openers become so much more important than ever before. First of all, before a combat encounter even begins, make sure you apply your poisons. Your instant poison is your deadly poison, or atrophic or numbing as your non-deadly poison. In the opener, you'll want to press Blade Flurry and then Stealth immediately. Then press Adrenaline Rush to Roll the Bones, and then Slice and Dice to spend your calm points. Your opener will start with Ghost Strike followed by Ambush or Echoing Reprimand depending on your Outlaw Rogue build. From there, you'll follow our Builder and Spender priority to build calm points and spend them on Between the Eyes as much as possible. You will have a short window inside of Subterfuge to be able to maximize your Between the Eyes. When that Subterfuge window is about to run out, we will Vanish to continue that Subterfuge window a little bit longer. But when the second window is about to run out, we'll press Shadow Dance to maintain that stealth stance for a little bit longer. After Vanish and Shadow Dance are both on cooldown, we'll go back into our normal rotation with our Builder and Spender priorities. Next, let's go over some of the best embellishments that you can craft for your Outlaw Rogue. And currently the best embellishment for you to craft right now are the Toxic Boots. To make our boots a little bit stronger, we'll be crafting a second item with a Toxified Patch. This patch enhances the value and the damage output of our Toxic Boots, boosting its overall damage output. Next, I want to go over the list of enchants, gems, and consumables that you should be running for your rogue in all forms of PvE content, starting with enchants. For your weapon, you want to enchant those with a Sophic Devotion. For your chest, you want to go with the Waking stats. For your rings, you can either go with the Devotional Versatility or Critical Strike, depending on which stat you're currently missing. For your legs, you want to enchant those with the Fierce Armor Kit. Braces are going to be enchanted with Avoidance, as will the Cloak for extra defense. You're going to want to enchant your boots with the Watcher's Loam for additional stamina, and your waist with the Shadowed Belt Clasp for even more stamina, as well as your helm with the Incandescent Essence, which is a new enchant added for the patch 10.2. You want to fill at least one of your gem sockets with a Resplendent Diamond in at least a single slot, which you will need a Jewel Crafter to send a work order to in order to craft one of these primal gems. Afterwards, you want to fill the rest of your slots with either Radiant Alexstrasite for crit or Malagite for versatility, which you can either sim for or go for the stat that you have less off on your gear. When it comes to consumables, I recommend running the Tepid Versatility file, which offers plenty of damage but also fantastic defensive bonus. However, you could be running the Corrupting Rage file, which technically does offer more damage but does make you a little bit more squishy. Your weapons are going to be enhanced with the Buzzing Rune, and you want to keep your character fed with Deviously Deviled Eggs, or a Raid Feast if one is available. Your defensive potions are going to be Dreamwalker's Healing Potions, while your offensive potions are either going to be Elemental Potions of Power for raids and single target, or Shocking Disclosure Potions for AoE content. Lastly, we have Augment Runes, which you can buy on the auction house, but they can be quite expensive. It's highly recommended for you to work towards the new Dream Wardens faction so you can eventually unlock the Infinite Rune, which will at the end of the day be more valuable for your gold. And that's going to be my guide for Outlaw Rogues within Season 3 of the patch 10.2. Hopefully this guide will inspire you guys to give Outlaw Rogue a solid shot. Right now the spec is in a much more competitive position, and it's insanely fun to play on top of it all. The playstyle saw fantastic performance over on the PTR realms, which should hopefully translate into the live realms fairly well once the Season 3 content officially launches. And like I said earlier, if you guys want to see more guides for specs like Assassination or Subtlety, let me know in the comments down below. As per usual, if you guys enjoyed this video or found it informative, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. I would very much appreciate it. And as always, in the description of every single video and live stream, we have a link to our Discord community channel. Probably the best place to reach out to me directly in case you want to let me know what you thought about this video or hang out with the rest of the community to discuss some of the upcoming changes. Join our Discord to become part of the community. But otherwise, thank you all so much for watching this video. I do hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know all of your thoughts down below. And as always, I'll see all of you guys in another video.